So everybody, welcome to the abstract writing workshop. We're glad that you can make it. We're going to try and respect your time and make the most of it. So let's get started. So the people who, sort of running this workshop, part of us are research ambassadors. We're here to help you sort of navigate, your research experience. And I'm Sarah. I'm a agricultural medical biotechnology major with a minor in creative writing, and my research is in microbiology. And then if our other two ambassadors want to introduce themselves.
I'm Deep Patel. I'm a major in biology and neuroscience. I'm also one of the research ambassadors.
Hi, I'm Keenan. I major in biochemistry, and my research is in oncology.
All right. So the goals of our workshop is we're just going to kind of help you figure out, what exactly is an abstract? How do I even write one? What do I include? What do I exclude? Sometimes that depends on what the place you're submitting it to. They have things that, they want you to include or exclude. So we're just going to kind of go through it step by step, and hopefully it all makes sense. So what is an abstract? There we go. Okay, what is an abstract? It's essentially a single paragraph manuscript that essentially stands alone. So it's going to help describe, give a good summary of your work, and it conveys the significance of your work. So essentially, when someone reads this, they're going to get all the essential details of your research. And it just kind of helps demonstrate the ability to effectively communicate your research to an audience. And this is, of course, with, only text. It's supposed to be sort of a short, brief, concise summary without any images or graphics. All right, so the 4 essential elements of an abstract include accuracy, concision, clarity, and keywords. So when someone's going to be reading your abstract, a lot of times they're, either reading a lot of abstracts along with yours, or they really just want to get sort of the key elements down of your research before they, continue to read anything else. So, having those keywords, having it be, really concise sentences that get down to the point of your research is pretty critical. So the components of an abstract, you're going to want a captivating title, a problem plus a purpose, methods, results, conclusion, and future directions. So a lot of times when you're trying to, build these abstracts, you're going to want to make things stand out. So, that captivating title is important, along with everything else, which Deep will tell us about now.
Yeah, so the abstract title. So oftentimes when a lot of professors are going through abstracts, the first thing they read is the abstract title. And therefore, it commands the most attention. And it has to accurately describe what your story is as a whole. And it has to include the key elements of your study. You have to be concise with your title, mention target words, which include your overall research project. And that same title has to use active voice. What I mean by active voice, we want the subject to show the action. So if we look at this example here, scientists here are our subject, right? They're conveying the action of conducting, and experiments is the target. Versus saying this in a more passive tone would be saying experiments have been conducted to test a hypothesis. Having active voice shows more purpose as well as sounding better. And here are some examples of descriptive titles. So we have the perceptions of social support use, a qualitative study of single men experiencing chronic homelessness, unlocking GPC PD1 secret, discovering the role of a possible oncogene, and deconstructing the imperial gaze, an analysis of photographs of post-war Japan. The title is typically something I usually personally write last. The first thing that I like to approach when writing an abstract is the problem. You got to start about what your research is. What is your research, which you can usually sum up in a sentence, and then you go on to your purpose. Your purpose is why. Why is your research important? Why do you want to do it? What is the reason behind all the work you do, right? And you got to be bold when you're saying this. This is my research. This is why I want to do it. Because as we mentioned earlier, a lot of these people reviewing your proposal, your abstract as a whole, they're reviewing a lot more than just your abstract. So they want you to be blunt, direct, concise, and just tell them. And based on that, this includes your research questions, so your hypothesis, your goal is all included within this part of problem and purpose. Now, methods and materials. So we started with our title, which is something I usually come back to towards the end after I finish the abstract. We went to our problem, which was what is our research, our purpose, our why behind our research, and now we have to show how. How are we going to do this research? Usually you can finish this within a sentence, and it describes your experimental approach. So this is step one. We're going to try this first, and then we're going to either support this data with more experiments, or this is another path that we could take down, just in case something unexpected comes up. And it's pertinent information. So, for example, if you're studying an animal model like zebrafish, you would mention zebrafish. What part of the zebrafish are you studying, right? Like the eye, for example. Now, the results. So this part is the most confusing, if you ask me, because a lot of people writing abstracts, a question you might have is, hey, I don't have any results right now. And based on that, what should I put here? So results not only means findings from your research, like we mentioned here, but overall, you could also talk about expectations, predictions. Based on previous work in other animal models, what do you expect to happen in your animal model? And the detail also in this section will be different in varying disciplines. So always talk to your mentor. And the conclusion. This is also another very important part of your abstract, but it's the take-home message of why you're reading this abstract, relating it all back to the purpose and the problem that you stated in an opening sentence.
Okay, so now we're going to take a look at two abstracts from the Posters at the Capitol, which is a program, or it's a event that people at UK or other colleges in Kentucky are able to present their research. And in that process, they had to submit one of their abstracts. So first we'll look at Lucas Bertucci's abstract. Okay, so first let's look at the problem and the purpose of, let's see if he includes that in his. At the beginning, it says the incorporation of computers in a daily life has led to an increase in electronic waste. So that is the problem of his project. And then he states explicitly that the purpose of his study is to develop a process of recycling copper from general e-waste, including circuit boards, wires, etc. So he gives examples of his problem and purpose, which aligns with what should be said for the abstract. Then we can look at his methods. In the abstract, it says that that the goal of this project was to validate the feasibility of the process fundamentals, confirm that the design is able to be scaled up, and optimize the recovery of copper. So that was a little bit of what was done in his project. And for the results of this project, he says that the result was the production of copper plates with a purity of 99.99%. And he wrapped his abstract up with at the very end by saying that the outcome of this project has proven that the process has strong potential for economic feasibility and positive environment impact. So at the end, he brought back his purpose, his problems, and his methods all the way back to why he's doing his project. So I really think that this is a nice, well-rounded abstract. Now we'll be looking at Taylor Davis's abstract from Posters at the Capitol. So again, time to look at the purpose and the problem. So the first sentence of this abstract kind of covers both of them. It says the purpose of this project was to document the experiences of women in the bourbon industry, as this project fills a gap in both scholarly and popular attention to the many women who play a role in Kentucky's $8.6 billion bourbon industry. So that kind of says the problem and the purpose of the abstract. So then we'll look at her methods that she says in the abstract. And she mentions that a total of 21 interviews were completed. And to date, 19 of those interviews have been digitally indexed, transcribed, and authenticated. So she concisely says how she takes this data from the interviews and processes it. So for her results, you can see later on in her abstract that she says, based on the key quotes identified and organized, our team crafted pre-production materials for 2 podcast episodes. So they were able to create podcasts out of these interviews in which they're able to give out this information that they found from these women. And to tie it all up, she uses quotes throughout the interviews that she had in the conclusion, which I found was really strong and was really good in making her abstract strong at the end. And she says that there is a strong need to continue making space for women of all backgrounds by giving more of them an opportunity to have a seat at the table, referring to the bourbon industry. I think this is just a really good way of taking her research and implementing it within her abstract in a nice, concise way. Creating an abstract can be extremely daunting. So at the Office of Undergraduate Research, we created a rubric that can get you just started on what to write. And the rubric contains each of the parts of an abstract that's needed that was mentioned in the presentation itself: the purpose, problem, the methods, the results, and the conclusion. So filling out this form is a good way to just create a backbone for the abstract and just get you starting to write an abstract before really cementing it down. So here are a few points to remember when you are making your abstract. Always stick to the word limit. When you are sending in your abstract to certain conferences or certain colleges and things, they want you to have a certain word limit. Some are 500, and for the showcases abstract at the University of Kentucky, the limit is 300 words. So you're going to want to know how to condense all the information of your experiment into this word limit. And another thing to keep in mind is to create your first draft, then revise. So I've had an abstract that for a project that I started last year, and the initial draft was bare bones. And then I gave it to my PI who helped revise it. And since then, this abstract has gone through so many people reading it and just changing it, and knowing that this look on different eyes is super helpful in the drafts. And another thing to look out for is to keep a general tone throughout the abstract. You don't want to change out how you're talking within the abstract, and you should always keep it professional. It's something to cover your research, so you want it to keep that tone throughout the abstract. And the final thing is to get feedback. There's so many ways you can get feedback from other people in your lab, from your PI, from friends who don't even know the research. They can give you great feedback because people who read abstracts don't have to know about your research, and getting different eyes on this abstract can give you a different perspective on if it makes sense and if it doesn't make sense. And another great resource is the Office of Undergraduate Research. Some of us are able to look at your abstract and give you feedback for it. So those are just a few points to remember.